Um, I'm going to make this tape. My name is Margaret Ann Windsor. I've made previous tapes the last month or so, several, many. Um, my real name is Margaret Ann Windsor. I said that. I was kidnapped in 41 from Buckingham Palace. My uncle George VI, Elizabeth's father, Joe Kennedy, ambassador to England during that time, Roosevelt, the New World Order, uh, Freemasons, whatever you want to call them, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, the American presidents and the Americans, planned my kidnapping and takedown of my father, the real King Edward VIII, who married Georgia O'Keeffe, the artist's sister, American. Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe Windsor is my mom. She was a commoner and Catholic, so it was already orchestrated anyway, but it was a takedown of my father. It was a double that married Wallace Simpson, and I was brought to Moulton, Alabama, and given the name of a twin, Peggy Dempsey Childers. The twins were dead already, born in a different year, and I married a Childers. Now then, I'm doing this again and giving the information there for background. I wrote a book in 77, 78 about mind control. And anyone who has followed me at all, and I'm not sure anybody has on YouTube, but it's a hideous thing. I work for doctors. I wrote about mind control. I wrote about Warren and Rosina Matthews, who were murdered. They were pathologists that knew how murders were made to look of natural cause. Because mind control is invisible unless you performed it or did it in patterns, knocked people off, and had someone coming in telling it you couldn't prove it. So this has happened since I did the book 77. I started telling about it in 70. And in 83, I was flown out to Larry Flint's because I'd become a candidate to replace Larry McDonald, a U.S. Congressman doctor, whom I wrote about in these murders in a medical malpractice book. Now, Larry Flint, the person who shot him, had been programmed to shoot him. He killed his attorney in Lawrenceville. I was in Marietta doing the book. I didn't know about my kidnapping in real name until 1983, and the Brits told me. So it's been an ongoing thing. The Brits are hostages. I'm a hostage. I'm Victoria II, the real monarch. My own uncle, George VI, is illegal. Elizabeth and that whole brood. Now, they've even named their baby, George, after the man who kidnapped me. The uncle that took out his brother, a traitor to his country, and it's continued. They signed illegal treaties allowing Americans to place their bases, military bases, all over British soil. That's Africa, all over, everything. Uh, so back to this morning. I've had every law in the book. I have been tortured, had antifreeze put in me. I've had everything done to me and my sons. No law will protect us because the agency doing it is the top law enforcement, and they can get people, things on people, and everybody has something to hide. But more than all, I've walked in my shoes. I've crawled. I've lived the life among the Americans, and I know who they are. And except for a handful of Americans, they could care less. They have told me they didn't want to hear it. They didn't give a damn. Get away from them. You do not know Americans till you walk in my shoe, and you show them and tell them what they're doing to you, and there's no doubt in their mind, and it's a joke. It is seriously a joke. I remember the FBI telling me they issued a letter the 23rd of June of 79 of national security involved, ongoing investigation. So these murders have been ongoing, and the United States taking over everything. But what he said to me was he faked yawning, and he said, what you're telling everybody about mind control, etc., just bores them. It's only when they find out how it affects them that they care. I'll tell you now that it's a sad state because I've met you, Americans. I've met the people that you brought in, like people that own motels here, the Patels, who joined in the spraying on me and said I was paying chemicals, deadly chemicals. So I have lived a hell of a life, and I'm just about dead now. But the Patel that has become very rich here in Roanoke owns motels, communication. They were brought over, I think, on a small business loan or whatever as immigrants. And they grew over the years. And quite frankly, back in 95, November, when they, in essence, put industrial stuff in a room that I'd paid for a month, it was hard for me to get the money. But anyway, I called the cops. The cops said, we'll just handcuff you. And when the cops undid the handcuffs, and they did, and they left, Patel told me, he says, we're Americans now. We have to do what they tell us to do. I had a long time ago when I did this book, one of the doctors, Gonzalez, tell me, he was role-playing. He said, my hands are clean. And he role-played like everybody would say that in the future. Well, their hands are clean. They're just Americans going about their business. They didn't know all this. Well, they did. They didn't want to know. And it's a sorry state of affairs that they're allowed to continue grabbing and stealing and killing other people and pretending to be the good guy because, believe me, they're not. Now then, so that I can upload this, I want to focus on this morning where I'm at now. I get breakfast with my rent I pay. This morning I could hardly get in, but I'm used to being the last guy crawling and begging and freezing and not begging for food, dehumanizing me, anything they want to do. I don't like it, but I've learned I have to take it till someday maybe it's over and no more. Because I do learn after 75 years, believe it or not, I do. I'm overly kind, and I have been accused of crimes that I didn't commit, that the Americans committed. Now, I told about in my book, didn't get published, got antifreeze put in me, should have died, taken across the state line, working for the district attorney in Huntsville later, trying to pretend nothing had happened and you're normal when you got brain damage done. So the book contained about the cardiovascular I work for, was just one of them, how they put chips in bypasses of people and can control their decision making, modify their behavior, makes them feel like they've got depression. In other words, what it amounts to, they control a person, they can create an illness or cure it a long time ago, back in the 30s with the Tesla that was stolen information. So I've told the murders that have happened later that were deliberately done in patterns. So the agency doing it had to have wanted it to be told, I would think, or there's another motive. I don't know. Now, I'm seeing on TV because I have crawled when I didn't have money, couldn't get a job, lived on the Appalachian Trail, freezing, starving. People would not help. They told me that they were told not to help me, and they didn't give a damn. They don't want to get involved. Now, this is the cold, hard facts. If you're kissing up to them and they're handing out money that they stole from me and the British and Germans and other people they've invaded, then they're happy. They're pretending they're the good guy. They're the criminals, and that's the plain truth of it all. Killing, you see I see the true Americans, let me say that. So this morning I'm looking up, and people, I've faxed it, I've certified, I've crawled, handed it to the media all through the years. Not one of them would tell about it because it would lead back to me and my kidnapping and the Kennedys. And Joe Kennedy, the ambassador that helped kidnap me, and John Kennedy. That was, the CNN's telling a little of that now. They aren't telling about me, though. But this morning, they had Dick Cheney on there about the heart, his heart. So I don't know where they're leading with that, but if your doctors and your psychiatrists can't tell the difference in mind control and have no more sense than that, then well, I don't anymore. I've told you, you hate my guts, and that's the truth for telling it. But they're touching on some of it. But I'm going to give you some of the mind control. Just a couple of the murders. There's the Haysom murders, which was next door in Bedford in April of 15th of 85. That's Jens Zorns, who was a German diplomat's son. He's in Buckingham State Prison in Virginia, Dillon, serving for a crime he didn't commit. They were done in patterns. For the murder of Elizabeth Haysom's parents, Derek and Nancy. Now then, the people that prosecuted this, Sweeney was the judge, Updike was the prosecuting attorney. He replaced Sweeney now as judge over there in Bedford. All these people round about here, these people specifically, Cleveland, his attorney, all knew the truth about it was mind control. They totally have known it. Nothing has been done. Now then, I'm going to mention Holmes of the Grand Theater in Aurora. That was one of them. He's being fed psychotic drugs, saying he's mentally ill. He's going to be put to death or live in hell the rest of his life for a mind control murder, which is invisible. I've said that. You can even use a handset if you want one-on-one there to do whatever you want to with it. You teach them the Morse code without a person's knowledge. It's done at a low level. I told all this back in the early 70s over and over. I'm the one that got crimes committed against me. Now then, the Oklahoma City Timothy McVeigh was one. He's dead. Virginia Tech right next door. I'm going to go to that. The 33 that were shot there. They were done in patterns. There is an offshoot of those murders that happened at Tech using mind control, and I've already put it on. I'm going to say this in prior tapes. I'm going to say this. When I was driving the Hustler car, and I never saw Larry Flynn again, and had to turn the car back in after a year, and I was pumping gas in grottos when the Haysom murders happened. An FBI agent, which I later remembered, he knew my husband in '62 in Brown Engineering in Huntsville, the Space Center. He was in there, the store where I'm pumping gas and cashiering at Ronica's and Grotto's, and he had retired supposedly up there. He came in, and I would pump gas all the time, fill up the tank, and he came in and he said, they've made it so ludicrous, he's talking about the FBI, that you tell this and everybody knows you're telling the truth, but it gives them a chance to help you or walk away. They walked. They couldn't walk fast enough. Now they made it so ludicrous, they killed Natlie Wood, and it's a timeline and the surrounding names and addresses that fit into patterns. Natlie Wood, part of it, was also the role she played in Hollywood in Brainstorm. And Brainstorm had to do with creating where you could feel another's emotions. I believe I'm correct. Jens Zorns here, the movie that was attached to that one was Starman with Jeff Bridges, etc. Now, there's other things, obviously, that go into that, like I'm going to quit because it won't go up. The fact is, I watched people this morning at breakfast that would not listen to me, that would handcuff me, and there were Virginia Tech students over there, too, and alumni from next door in Blacksburg, staying here the last couple of nights. They would have had me arrested, yet they're watching on TV, CNN, tell about Cheney. I'm the one that started telling all this back then. Not one word about me, other than lies. So what do you think?